This changes everything as the Penguins are really starting to flex how deep their lineup is, including goaltender. Our backup goalie is better than yours. And Nathan Klurman making his NHL debut. It was a last-minute decision for Klurman to slot into the lineup. We have to talk about some new injury concerns with the Penguins. We have plenty to talk about on this final episode of 2024 on Penguins Digest. Thank you all for joining me. My name is Remington Kuhn. First and foremost, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. If you're not already subscribed, hit the sub button, and we got you with the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, content, analysis, and updates. And an injury update is coming your way right off the bat. Kris Letang was out last night. He missed the game due to an upper body injury, which means Nathan Klurman making his NHL debut for the Pittsburgh Penguins, a guy that we didn't know what to expect. He's been playing in the minor leagues for multiple years. He got drafted in the 4th round by the Colorado Avalanche. The American-born defenseman gets his first crack at NHL action after spending multiple years in the minor leagues, and some of that time spent at Wilkes-Barre. Kris Letang was ruled out right before the game. I'm telling you, within an hour before the game. I saw this report from RotoWire, and Kris Letang, lower body injury, ruled out of playing Sunday versus the Islanders. He got banged up in Saturday's game against the Isles, and then they ruled him out for the Sunday game. I'm not sure if he just wasn't feeling up to it when the time came, but I hadn't heard anything about Klurman playing until an hour before the game started, that Letang was going to be out, and that was just kind of a dagger for the Penguins because they were already missing Marcus Pettersson and Owen Pickering, but Nathan Klurman, that dude really showed out. I'm telling you, he actually proved a lot to me last night. So it's just worth noting that the Penguins had a completely different personnel group on their defense. As we take a look, Matt Grzelcyk was forced to move up to the first line with Erik Karlsson. Ryan Graves moves up to the second line to play with P.O. Joseph. And then Ryan Shea, Nathan Klurman, the final line of defense. Only 3 regulars on that defense for the Penguins: Grzelcyk, Karlsson, and Graves. P.O. Joseph is now a regular since the trade, but we are missing 3 of our top 6 defensemen, and that hurts. But Nathan Klurman, making his debut, stood his own in his debut. He actually had the hit of the game as well in the neutral zone. I really like the game he played, and it's big for the Penguins to establish more depth on the back end, something that they needed, why they traded for P.O. Joseph in the first place. But Ryan Shea, Ryan Graves, both in the lineup, and then Graves on that second pairing actually played really well alongside P.O. Joseph. Awesome defensive play. Honestly, it was a defensive play of the game by Ryan Graves. He kept up with the speedy Maxim Siplikov and stood in there for a huge block shot at close range, showing that he is still that defensive defenseman that the Penguins desperately need. And the reason why he was brought in by Kyle Dubas is to do those kind of things. And he's starting to show more and more the Ryan Graves that we thought we were getting from New Jersey in free agency. And I love what I'm seeing from Ryan Graves. His game has taken a level up in the last few games, and he deserves to be in that lineup every day if he's going to keep playing this way. So that confidence boost that Sidney Crosby gave him by giving him the helmet that one game where we blew out the Flyers, and then he got to give the helmet to Nathan Klurman last night, so that was huge. It only happens once, is what Graves said when he handed Klurman the helmet instead of Crosby on a historic night, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But the Islanders as well, we have to talk about just for a second, because it's worth mentioning that Semyon Varlamov is on the injury reserve. He's normally their number 2 goalie behind Ilya Sorokin. Their backup goalie is a journeyman now. Hogberg had to step in. He hadn't played an NHL game in over 1,000 days, and this was the second game of a back-to-back, so they weren't going to start Ilya Sorokin 2 games in a row. They had to go with Hogberg. As we go to the next topic, Anthony Beauvillier. Beauvillier's revenge. And I'll tell you, Beauvillier getting the first goal is good riddance, because this is his former team. He was drafted in the 1st round by the Islanders in 2015, and I really didn't have Anthony Beauvillier revenge game on my bingo card, but we'll take it. I love what he's brought to the Penguins. He started off the season so hot, and let's look at his numbers so far this year. Beauvillier has been a force overall. I mean, he's got 12 points. For a role player, that's pretty good. 12 points, only playing about 12 minutes a game. He's a plus player. But beginning of the season when he played on the line with Crosby, I thought they had something there. But then they started making changes. You know, Rust came back from the IR. Rust and Raquel with Crosby, obviously one of the best lines in hockey. So Beauvillier is more of a role player, but he plays his role. I mean, Anthony Beauvillier has done everything we've asked him to do. He's done well in the minutes that he's been given, and he's earning more minutes with Mike Sullivan right now. showing out, being in the right spot at the right time, scoring a huge goal against his former team, and putting the Penguins up early, a goal that we needed because you saw the graphic a few videos ago of the Penguins getting that first goal and maintaining the lead through one period. They're hard to beat when they do that. So Beauvillier getting that huge tally for the Penguins. Again, can't say enough about the guy. He's been great. Love Beauvillier's game. He's got a lot of speed. That's something he brings to the table, something the Penguins need because they are an older team and they need guys that can keep up with other teams' younger players. You see these fast guys out there for other teams. We need some fast guys of our own. You remember the value of Carl Hagelin for the Penguins, the speedy winger playing on the third line with Nick Bonino and Phil Kessel, who I have the jersey for right up there. The HBK line was so critical to the Penguins winning those back-to-back Stanley Cups. And now we're seeing a third line start to show itself here in Pittsburgh, and it's because of Anthony Beauvillier. He's that speedy winger that you need on the one side, but then you also need the gritty guy on the other side, the Phil Kessel, the guy that can cash in on some goals every once in a while, but that's just going to bring that tenacity. So you have Beauvillier established on the one side, but guess who's on the other side? And he's been playing center a little bit lately as well. That is Drew O'Connor, and he is inching closer and closer to the Drew O'Connor that we thought he was going to be this season. He's been in a huge goal-scoring drought, okay? This is a guy that's played on a line with Sid before. This is a guy that scored goals. He showed that he has puck skills, but he hasn't been that same Drew O'Connor. Now, I love the way he plays. Drew O'Connor's a great player, but he just hasn't been getting the numbers this season, and there's a lot of excuses that you could make for that, but I just think he's not been lucky. And the one graph that I showed you guys with the advanced metrics proved that fact, that he's just unlucky. Well, Drew O'Connor's getting closer, and I say that because he's getting in the areas that he needs to get in to score goals. He's getting those high danger chances. He had a lot of moments in that last game. He had the best scoring chance for the Penguins when he hit Hogberg right in the mask. He got right into the slot area and just ripped one right off the mask of Hogberg. Hogberg barely even saw the puck. So you get the feeling he's getting closer because every game you're seeing him driving in the net or putting a quality shot on goal or just generating some form of offense, and eventually he's due to cash one of these in. So maybe we get DOC going again with one of these goals at some point and get him back in a rhythm, because that third line is going to be really crucial for the Penguins. The fourth line's been really nice with Lizotte and Achari and Nieto, but that third line gets going with Drew O'Connor and you see Beauvillier making an impact. I think that's going to be the key down the stretch, is getting these role players involved in scoring some goals on top of doing what they already do, you know, on the penalty kill and whatnot. So we'll take any contributions we can from our role players. That includes Drew O'Connor, and that includes former Islanders first round pick Anthony Beauvillier in the revenge game. So those two guys, huge reasons why we're able to win the game last night. Got to give a shout out to those two guys, and Cody Glass as well. Getting it going for the Penguins, showing a lot of skill, a lot of tenacity, and just being physical, the way he moves the puck, driving this high danger areas, taking the shots on goal when he gets an opportunity, winning key faceoffs, just doing all the little things right. And that's what we need from our role players if we're going to be successful. Talking about another role player that's found a role for sure, that is Michael Bunting. He is our power play secret weapon. This guy has been money on the PP. He is just the guy that we set up at this point. He leads the team in power play goals. He got his 7th power play goal last night. That's back-to-back games with a power play goal for Michael Bunting. He has been on an absolute heater for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I love it from Michael Bunting as we look at what Michael Bunting did last night, a memorable feat for Sidney Crosby, and Bunting felt it was a time to play some jokes and show his personality a little bit. So Michael Bunting signed a stick for Sid, and he wrote, "You're welcome," because he was able to help Sidney Crosby get a historic assist that we're going to talk about in just a second. But first, we have to talk about Bunty. 35 seconds into the second period, Penguins get their first power play goal. Michael Bunting striking on the power play yet again. Again, 2 nights in a row for Bunty. Absurd assist by Sid to set up the goal. Backhand feed through the teeth of the defense for the Penguins' secret weapon to bury one on the man advantage. And the power play has been fantastic. We have to take a look at this next graphic about the power play. And that was 25.9% on the power play after last night. After 38 games played last season, they were 26th at 14.6%. They've almost doubled that output this year, and they have a top 5 power play in the league. The power play we needed. The power play we thought we were going to have when Erik Karlsson came to Pittsburgh, and now we have it. Kris Letang was in the lineup. Didn't matter. Power play 2 for 2. Michael Bunting is the secret weapon. Phil Tomasino also got a power play goal. He has been awesome as well. I love the way that they moved the puck around on a delayed penalty even, and took advantage of that maintaining possession for an extended period of time, just adding to those power play minutes, giving themselves even more time on the man advantage, moving the puck around, nice cycle, nice puck movement. The zone entry has been crisp the last couple games. I think they're starting to get going, and we knew they were playing against the worst power play and penalty kill in the NHL, so it was a perfect time for them to get hot and carry that into their next game. So they get their second power play goal from Tomasino. They kept the Islanders on their heels. That's all you can really say. And they get their second of the night. Excellent first power play, excellent second power play. It was a late goal in the second one, but it counted nevertheless. And they finished with another 100% on the PP, same as they did against the Philadelphia Flyers just 2 games ago. Love what I'm seeing from those guys right now. But Crosby, the assist king, and yes, for real this time, Michael Bunting has been red hot, leading the team in power play goals, but Sidney Crosby is leading the team in assists, and now he leads the Penguins in all-time assists. I apologize, I made this a part of last video talking about Crosby breaking the assist record, but they took his assist back. So I have to come back on here and do it again, because stat corrections took Crosby's assist away because the Islanders touched the puck after he made that great move and set up the goal by Michael Bunting last game, and they didn't give Crosby the assist after all. So he had to come into the second consecutive game tied with Mario Lemieux, and he broke it this time at home, which, can you make it any better than that? You saw the stick that Michael Bunting signed as a joke for Sid, but Sidney Crosby, the all-time assist king in Penguins history, passing Mario Lemieux. It is official this time. Second night in a row, but he cashed in. He had that assist taken back, but he got it this time with his parents in attendance and a standing ovation from the home crowd. Sidney Crosby, your new assist king. And that is something to be celebrated for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Crosby making history just like he deserves to. One of the all-time great Penguins. And like I said last video, he is the greatest Penguin of all time for my money. Shout out Mario, but Sidney Crosby and what he's done for the Penguins, it's unmatched. It's unmatched. As we move on to the next topic today, the impenetrable brick wall, and he has a name, Alex Nedeljkovic. That guy was awesome last night, and I wasn't really expecting it from Ned, but he steps in on a back-to-back. Jarry yesterday took the L, and then Nedeljkovic goes in there, and they couldn't do anything against him until the third period. He was fantastic, showing that we have one of the best backup goalies in the game with Alex Nedeljkovic. I mean, take a look at the box score. Ned was on it last night, a .935 save percentage. They couldn't score until they pulled the goalie in the third period. They pulled the goalie with 7 minutes left in the third. They were being very aggressive down 3-0, and it actually worked. But you still have to give Ned a ton of credit because they wouldn't have got to that point if it wasn't for him. The penalty kill has been so good. Only 1 power play goal allowed in their last 8 games, and Ned was their best penalty killer last night. He was sharp as nails all night long, especially on the PK. The 2 power plays that the Penguins had to defend, Alex Nedeljkovic had multiple unbelievable saves on each of those penalty kills, and he was just a huge reason why the Penguins were able to get that 3-goal lead to begin with. And then obviously in the third period, they pull the goalie, they get a little bit of momentum, but it was too little too late for the Islanders. Ned was an absolute stud, and yeah, it wasn't possible without the play of Alex Nedeljkovic. So I just think you need to give credit where credit is due to Alex Nedeljkovic, and the Islanders pulling their goalie is really the only reason they were able to get anything against him, and they broke up his shutout with 7 minutes to go. But for 53 minutes, he was an absolute brick wall in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that is something that we have to talk about, because if you have a good backup goalie, you think back to the Penguins with Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray, that tandem in net, when you have 2 guys you can really trust, Tristan Jarry really gaining that trust back from us, at least from me. I know fans are still going to trash him. And then Ned, when he's gotten opportunities, he's played well. So I like that idea. You know, down the stretch last year, Ned was awesome for the Pens. If Jarry gets cold, guess who's going in the net? Alex Nedeljkovic. And he's going to be a big reason why the Penguins are successful down the stretch, just like they were last year, almost creeping into the playoffs. Well, if we get into the playoffs, we need 2 good goalies, and we have 2 solid goalies right now, Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic, proving his worth again last night for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Comeback attempt comes up short for the Islanders. We talked about them pulling the goal early. They got aggressive. 4 minutes left. They striked again with the goalie pulled. And it was a sharp angle shot. It deflected off Ryan Graves and in. I mean, it's not really anybody's fault. Graves was actually in a perfect spot, keeping the Islanders away from the crease, and it was quite literally just a lucky bounce for the Islanders. We talked about it last game. A couple of lucky bounces kept the Isles in the game, and no different in this one. It bounced off Ryan Graves. He was doing what he was supposed to do as a defenseman, bodying up a guy, keeping him out of the crease, and it just deflected in. I mean, there was no way Ned was stopping that puck. It was just a perfect bounce, and it was lucky. And that happens sometimes. You just got to accept that. But the Penguins were able to get away with the win, 3-2. Obviously, some big moments in that game for Alex Nedeljkovic, Hogberg as well. He made the save of the game on Brian Rust, highway robbery. I really started to worry there after he made that save on Rust. I'm like, oh boy, hockey gods are not on our side right now. But despite the save of the game, they pull the goalie again, and they're unable to get the equalizer. So Nedeljkovic stood strong till the very end, kept that 1-goal lead, and we won the game 3-2. So that brings me to the last point. Another huge Penguin survived by the skin on their teeth in this one. It should not have been that close of a game. They dominated for almost the entire game. At least 50 minutes of that game, they were dominant, but it is a 60-minute game for a reason. We're going to take the W, though. Pittsburgh wins 3-2, seals the split with the New York Islanders just 22 hours after a very forgettable performance where they unfortunately took the loss in New York, but they came back, got a win against the Metropolitan Division, their third of the season, and a big 2 points put the Penguins right back in the playoff picture. They moved above the cutoff line, and then the Senators beat the Minnesota Wild to move the Penguins right back down where they were, 1 point back of that number 8 seed in the 9-hole, but we're fine with the 9-hole for now. I mean, we're only halfway through the season, not even. So as long as we're staying close within striking distance, I believe in this team to get in the postseason. And I just talked about a lot of the reasons why you should be excited about the Pittsburgh Penguins heading into 2025. This is a team that is red hot. They've had their moments, a couple of disappointing losses, but overall, they played their best stretch of hockey over the last month or so. And I love what I'm seeing out of this team, putting us right back in the mix and putting Dubas in a position to possibly buy at the trade deadline instead of selling away key players like Marcus Pettersson. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Penguins Digest. It was another fun one because we got another huge win over the New York Islanders. The next game is tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings. We're going to be taking a couple of days off here on Penguins Digest for the new year, so I hope you guys enjoy this holiday with your family. Enjoy another Penguins win, hopefully, and we'll be back in 2025 here on Penguins Digest, and we'll see you next year on the next episode of Penguins Digest. Here is to 2025. Let's go, Pens.